Namaste everyone. Welcome to our YouTube channel Sharanga Classics. This video is the third part in a series of videos dealing with the research paper titled Why India Does Poorly on Global Perception Indices, authored by Sanjeev Sanyal and Akanksha Arora. The research paper focuses on 3 indices, out of which this video will be on EIU Democracy Index. It will focus on their methodology, India's performance on this index across time, and comparison of India's rank with other countries. EIU Democracy Index. The Democracy Index is an index compiled by Economist Intelligence Unit, the research division of the Economist Group, a UK-based private company which publishes the weekly newspaper The Economist. Their first Democracy Index report was published in 2006. The index provides a snapshot of the state of democracy worldwide in 165 independent states and 2 territories. The index is based on 5 categories, which are as follows. Electoral process and pluralism. 12 questions are asked on this. The second one being functioning of government. 14 questions are asked on this. The third one is political participation. 9 questions are asked on this. Fourth one is political culture. 8 questions are asked on this. The fifth one is civil liberties. 17 questions are asked on this. The index has a total of 60 questions spread across the above mentioned 5 categories. You can check out the full list of questions on the paper through the link in the description. Now we'll see how the scoring is done. The scoring of these questions is based on a combination of dichotomous, that is 0-1 marks for some questions, and there is a 3-point scoring system, that is 0, 0.5 and 1 marks for some questions. Then using the scores for the questions, the individual category indices are calculated. The individual indices scores are sum of scores of the questions whose scores are converted to a scale of 0 to 10. Like after the conversion, the question scores are added to get individual index. Then, the final score of Democracy Index is calculated by taking simple average of scores of the 5 individual indices. The index values are then used to categorize countries within one of the 4 types of regimes. The first one being full democracies. If their score is greater than 8, then they come under this. The second one is flawed democracies. If their score is greater than 6 and less than or equal to 8, then they come under this. Third one is hybrid regimes. If their score is greater than 4 and less than or equal to 6. The fourth one is authoritarian regimes. If their scores is less than or equal to 4, then they come under this category. This paper states that the questions asked by the EIU Democracy Index report to be highly subjective in nature, making objective scoring difficult. Hence the paper goes on to say it is difficult to make cross-country analysis on this. For example, we can take some of the questions that are listed here. Like, how pervasive is corruption? The question is highly subjective and can be answered by different experts very differently. And another question being, popular perceptions of the extent to which citizens have free choice and control over their lives. This question is also highly subjective. You can see the rest of the question in this table. The table has been directly taken from the paper. Now, the answer to these questions are taken from 2 sources. The first one being expert opinions. Second one being public opinion polls for about 15 questions, only if they are available. Now let us go a bit deep into the expert part. The responses for about 45 questions are from experts. The report, however, does not reveal the number of experts or their nationality, credentials, or even their field of expertise. The second one is public opinion polls. Public opinion surveys, mainly the World Values Survey, conducted by the World Values Survey Association based out of Stockholm, Sweden, are used for some questions only if the survey is available. If the survey is not available, then the expert assessment is used for these questions also. In case of India, the WVS report available is of 2012 from the Wave 6. The latest round of Wave 7, that is from 2017 to 2020, has not been conducted for India yet. This is a screenshot that I took from the WVS website. Here you can see that they have mentioned further surveys interrupted by the outbreak of the coronavirus, whose delivery is delayed and expected after April 2022, including India, Uzbekistan, Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Since the latest public opinion poll has not been conducted for India after 2012, this implies that the entire score for India is based only on expert opinions. Now let us look into India's performance in this index. India has been kept in the category of flawed democracy since 2006. 2006 is when the EIU Democracy Index was first released. India's rank deteriorated sharply from 27 in 2014 to 53 in 2020. But if you see, the score and hence the rank went down to 46th position from 2020 to 2021. The reason the EIU report states that it is primarily on the account of repealing of the farm laws. In this graph, you can see that the rank from 2006 to 2021. This graph has been directly taken from the paper. You can see the improvement in rank from 2020 to 2021 as I had mentioned before. The scores declined primarily in these three categories: civil liberties, political culture, and electoral process and pluralism. The decline was the maximum in the category of civil liberties, where it declined from 9.41 in 2013 to 5.59 in 2021. During the same period, the score on political culture declined from 6.25 to 5.0. During the same period, the electoral process and pluralism score went down from 9.58 to 8.67. As I had mentioned before, there was an improvement in the scores from 2020 to 2021. The scores improved on civil liberties, political participation, and functioning of government categories. Even this table has been directly taken from the paper. In this table, you can see the scores for all 5 categories, and in the last column, you can see the overall score. The scores from 2014 for the categories mentioned in the previous slides are marked in the red here. You can see the scores dip in electoral process and pluralism. It was 9.58 in 2014. It dipped to 8.67 in 2021. You can see the same thing happening in political culture. It was 6.25 in 2014 and it dipped to 5 in 2021. The same thing with civil liberties. 9.41 in 2014 to 6.18 in 2021. In the previous slide, we saw that the scores improved on civil liberties from 2020 to 2021, and you can see that here. It was 5.59 in 2020 and it improved to 6.18 in 2021. And the same thing happened in political participation. You can see that it was 6.67 in 2020 and it improved to 7.22 in 2021. And even in the functioning of government, it improved from 7.14 to 7.50 in 2021. The paper states that this increase in scores from 2020 to 2021 is primarily because of the repealing of the farm laws. Now let's compare India's rank with other countries. India's rank in the EIU Democracy Index is 46 in 2021. Cross-country comparison shows that India's rank is below various countries that are clearly either less democratic or are recently formed states. If you take the example of Malaysia, which is ranked 39, even though there is an ongoing political crisis in the country since 2019-2020. This paper mentions that the Constitution of Malaysia forbids discrimination against citizens based on sex, religion, race, but also accords a special position in Article 153 of the Constitution to Bumiputra, the indigenous people of Malaysia, including ethnic Malays, and members of tribes indigenous to the states of Sabah and Sarawak in eastern Malaysia. But on a personal level, and on the face of it, I think just because they provide some special status to their indigenous people, their democratic nature will not go down. On the two categories where India's score has gone down sharply, that is, the civil liberties and political culture categories. There are countries which are newly formed countries, even though they have clearly faced political issues in the recent past, but still have higher scores. India's score on political culture is 5.0 in 2021. If we compare the score with Lesotho, which is a country that has faced a military coup in 2014 and emergency was declared in 2020 and again in 2022, it has a score of 5.63. East Timor, which officially became a country only in 2002, has a score of 6.88. Sri Lanka and Hong Kong, which have faced political turmoil in the recent past, have scores of 6.25 and 7.50 respectively. India's score on civil liberties was 6.18. In comparison, Lesotho has a score of 6.47, East Timor has a score of 7.35, and Hong Kong has a score of 8.53. This paper points out that Simply providing the same questions for all countries does not mean getting comparable scores, as the generic questions can be answered very differently by different experts, leading to arbitrary cross-country scores and hence rankings. Thank you. The next video will be on VDEM index.